You are listening to the Centropic Oracle, an audiobook podcast of science fiction and fantasy short stories that make you think and feel.
Ghost in My Mind by Donald Jacob Uitvlugt. But perhaps the dream is dreaming us. Sting. When the Angels Fall, Soul Cages. All Souls' Night, and the moon was full. 5 years she had waited for this conjunction. 5 years, but it would be worth it, just to see him again, just to tell him. Her harp was heavy in her hands, and she had to move slowly so as not to damage the instrument on the stones. The case had been left in the car, steel hinges and rivets. Over the course of the year, she had replaced the strings on her harp with silver and the tuning and bridge pins with gold. No cold iron to interfere with the magic this night. She had let down her long hair at the car, making sure no hairpins remained. She was clad in a length of dark patterned silk, wrapped about her body, but with no seam or stitching. The thin garment was unsuited to the season and the hour, but that was not why she shivered as she neared his resting place. The stones in the graveyard were elegant, ornate. They were not well kept, fallen and tumbled against each other. The grass around them grew in long clumps, unmown this late in the season. She could feel a wildness here. Perhaps a not unsuitable place for him to rest. Perhaps a not unsuitable place to call him to walk again beneath the moon, if only for a little while. The moon grew high, seemingly strangely large this night. She had little time left to prepare. She seated herself upon his stone, the silk of her dress hardly insulating her from its coldness. She pulled her harp close and waited for a moment, exhaling a cloud of breath that glowed silver in the moonlight. Now, she somehow knew within herself. The moon reached its zenith and she began to play. A familiar tune to warm up her fingers, Danny boy. A smile came unbidden to her lips. The music of Ireland, land of happy wars and sad love songs. A mere prelude to the magic of the night, but like the place, the tune suited him. The silver strings rang out in the still air, the notes vibrating in the moonlight. The moonlight she began to feel flowing about her like currents in the ocean. She closed her eyes. The music vibrated clearer, purer. She bathed in the liquid embrace of the moon, until she could feel the cool currents of light flowing in her too. She kicked off the cotton slippers she wore and buried her toes into the wet grass, connecting herself to the soil under which he lay. And she opened herself up to her memories of him. A pause, and then all that he had been coursed in her heart and mind. His strength so casually worn, his weaknesses shown to her alone. The nimble, clever motions of his hands, even at something as mundane as lacing his shoes. The way his dark eyes lighted like a child's when he caught sight of the first snowflake of winter, or the first robin of spring. His barely restrained animality when they made love, that clean yet musky smell of him as he slept. Her fingers danced along the strings now, playing a new tune called up from the power of this night. Strange harmonies echoed in the moonlight, though her fingers grew more and more certain in their playing. Her whole being knew this song, though she played it for the first time. Still faster she plucked at the strings, and she could feel her heart race, her lungs burn with the effort of it. Power swirled around her, long tendrils of her hair whipping about. Her fingertips ached now, but the frenzied tune drove her unrelenting, as if the music were playing her. 1, 2 of the high treble strings snapped, but still she played on, instantly transposing an octave higher. And her love was so close she could feel his presence, could see him though her eyes were still closed. He lay as though sleeping, the only difference that he did not draw breath. So pale his skin, the veins blue in the silver moonlight. His dark hair tousled the way it had always been after a night's sleep. Instinctively, she reached out to smooth it. And in so doing, stopped her playing for just a moment and broke the spell. Her eyes snapped open, but all she saw was the still, silent night. The moon was well beyond the zenith, the hour long past. Cradling her harp against her chest, she began to weep bitterly. He stirred in his sleep, feeling her hand on his brow. Eyes sprang open, but no, she was not there. She would never be there again. He looked at the place in the bed where she should have been lying. A ghost of a sound had awakened him, a memory already fading. And then he half sat up and glanced at the harp in the corner, its silver strings gleaming in the light of the full moon.
We hope you enjoyed Ghost in My Mind by Donald Jacob Outflett, read by Dale Willman. If you'd like to learn more about the author and narrator of this story or make a donation to them, follow the story page link in the description. Pledge your support to us on Patreon for cool rewards and to help us bring you more stories. If you would like to submit a story for consideration or apply to be a narrator, a link to our submission guidelines is in the description.